Welcome back! Now, I know it's been a while. I know some of you may have forgotten that ChribKnowsBall. You may be thinking, Crib probably doesn't even know ball at this point. It's probably all over with. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about anymore. Don't be discouraged and don't be deceived. Crib still knows ball. He is still here. Just also has a life. We got a lot to talk about. Primarily, first and foremost, the king, the GOAT, my GOAT. Went to Philly. It's kind of weak. It's kind of lame. It's a little disappointing. There'll be some good hoops, but it's a little disappointing. Kind of was expecting something a little better. Maybe a little Cleveland homecoming. Maybe a little Miami homecoming. Maybe a fun team like the Warriors. But no, instead he's going to Philly. He's going to Philly with Jaylen Brown. God, we got a lot to talk about. So, first and foremost, like I said, LeBron James has gone to Philly for basically what's a minimum deal. Doesn't impact the cap really at all. Sixers had to trade away Johnny Broom to the Sixers, Sixers traded Johnny Broom to the Clippers for a second rounder, or they gave up a second rounder for cash. They basically had to clear up some salary because to bring in LeBron and then KCP, who signed right after, to stay out of the first and the second apron, they had to dump some money, so they dumped Broom. The roster right now is looking more or less like the five that everybody knows: the Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, LeBron, and Embiid, and then off the bench they got KCP, Dominic Barlow, a couple other pieces here and there, but that's really the bread and butter of it. So what does this mean, or how does this impact the rest of the league, or at least the Eastern Conference, right? So I do believe that the Sixers will be finishing somewhere in the top three. There's a lot of concerns about, will Embiid stay healthy enough, and Maxey and Brown and LeBron combine for 170% usage rate. But there's a lot of things to consider there. For the usage rate argument, it's firstly, they were all on their own teams. Maxey obviously with Embiid, who plays about 14 games a year. But all of them were big-time ball handlers on the teams that they were on prior to the Sixers. So there's some situational stuff there. Jaylen Brown is coming off of basically an MVP caliber season with the Celtics because there was no Tatum, so somebody had to step up. Somebody had to handle the rock, and it was Jaylen Brown pounding the air out of it most of the times, and he did great doing what he was doing. LeBron, too, was forced to step into that first option role, even though he was kind of destined to be a third option because of how much time Luka and AR missed, especially towards the end of the season. And Maxey was, if you watched any Sixers basketball last year, especially regular season, it was a lot of Maxey ball. I think he was top 5 in the league. He had 94 touches per game or some ridiculous number where the ball was constantly finding Maxey's hands, which isn't that surprising considering he's their best and most reliable player. But again, that kind of spreads across all these guys. They're all coming from situations where they were either a 1A or were forced into a position that made them a 1A for the full year. But despite all of that, I think that all of these guys have shown the ability to defer. They've shown the ability to be a second, third, fourth fiddle when needed. Maxey obviously wasn't always the guy that he is now. He wasn't always a all-star, and he was still a very good contributing player. It's not like he was a negative asset when the ball wasn't in his hands as much years ago when Embiid was playing a little bit more, and even I think some of Ben Simmons' team too. But there was a time where Maxey wasn't the 1A and he was doing fine. There's a time when Jaylen Brown was the 1B and he was doing fine. And LeBron is LeBron. He can be the 10th man off your bench and still be productive and contribute. And we know it's LeBron James. The Philadelphia 76ers are probably going to be, like I said, a top 3 team in the East. I think they're going to be up there with the New York Knicks, and Cavs could be up there. The Celtics could stay up there. I think the Pistons are the smart money, even though they're a little in limbo right now. Jalen Duren still is holding out for his $280 million that he's probably not going to get. So the Pistons are a little bit of a question mark, but I think it's safe to say that the Sixers will be a top 3 finish in the East. And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about their concerns with the Sixers' ability to work together, and I don't really see that dilemma. You've got 2 guys who can push the pace like none other in Brown and Maxey. Those are two guys you absolutely want to play in transition, and Edgecombe as well. He's a young guy. He's going to be running. You have LeBron with his famous touchdown passes, and even if Embiid is kind of forced to sit and not really, I don't think there's going to be a lot of transition plays where you see Embiid cross half court. I think that a lot of what the 76ers are going to have to do next year to stay in one piece and to make a deep playoff run is keep Embiid healthy. And in order to do that, you're going to have to minimize the miles you put on his body, right? We know Embiid is fantastic when he's healthy. We know when he's playing, he's a top 5 player in the league. It's just that he's never playing. So if they're able to run a lot more transition and they're able to, get going off the break a lot quicker, you'll be able to leave Embiid behind and not put so many miles on his legs. And I think that will, in turn, result in him being a lot more available as we get closer to the postseason. So, not to harp too long on the Sixers, I think we all know they're going to be a fun team. They're going to be can't miss basketball, must watch. I want to pivot a little bit out to the Western Conference, where my Oklahoma City Thunder unfortunately had to trade my goat, Lou Dort, my other goat. Sorry, LeBron. Dort's up there though. They traded him to Atlanta along with Aaron Wiggins. Their total return was nothing impressive. I think they in total returned like 3 second-round picks or something on the smaller side like that. But the real reason for that move was to just clear some cap and stay under the aprons, because once you get in those aprons, it's bad news. You can't sign and trade for any salary. You can't. It becomes a mess. That's the new CBA. Really locks up teams if they go into that second apron, or even the first apron becomes problematic. So the Thunder wanted to get rid of Dort's $17 million a year and Wiggins $11 or $12 million a year, and so they were able to offload those contracts. Both those guys end up in separate deals, but both going to Atlanta. And something that has been almost flying under the radar is the purpose behind the Thunder making that trade in particular, because there may be a chance that some team somewhere was willing to pay first for Dort, right? He is a near 40% three-point shooter. He is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and he is a very versatile defender, even though he's only about 6'4". He can pretty much guard your 1 through 3, and some of the smaller fours in the league. He's also able to hold his own against, which is sort of the Thunder mantra between Caruso and Wallace and him. But his skill set became redundant on the Thunder, and it's likely they may have been able to pull in a first for him somewhere else. But the strategy behind trading him and Wiggins to Atlanta is you're now creating a much stronger team in Atlanta. Atlanta's starting lineup they're looking pretty solid. I'll put a picture of it up right here, maybe right here. Atlanta's lineup looks pretty gross, and the San Antonio Spurs have Atlanta's first round pick this year. So this could be, one of the 4D chess moves that Presti has been known to make. I guess only time will tell if the Hawks end up fizzling out and make a play-in like they've done many, many times before, then maybe this is all for naught. But if they're able to keep their little upward trajectory going and show back up now with the Trae Young thing off their shoulders, it might end up being, kind of a win-win. You get some picks back, you unload the salary, stay out of trouble, and you prevent the Spurs from getting another potentially lottery pick, which is something that the Spurs have gotten quite a few of in the last few years. So coming back out east, let's talk about the Wizards a little bit. So the Washington Wizards have made a good few moves between this offseason and the end of last season, or up until the trade deadline last year. They moved on from basically nothing, and they moved into Trae Young, who they then extended. They gave him some serious money. They did the same thing with Anthony Davis. And now the lottery gods blessed them. They got number 1 in the lottery, in the draft, and they got AJ DeBonzo. So the Washington Wizards, depending on who you ask, could be a legitimate team next year. Do I think they're contenders? Absolutely not. Do I think they're a top 4 finish in the East? Probably not. Do I think they can squeeze into the playoffs in the East? There's a good chance. So I would like to see what the Wizards do there. I don't think it's fair to call them a dark horse, because they do have a lot of talent on their team between just Trae and AD alone, but there's a lot of young guys too. Keyshawn George is a stud. Alex Sarr looked great last year. And now bringing in AJ Devonta and plus a couple of fun pieces off the bench. The Wizards can be a serious team this year. I don't think they're going to do anything unbelievable, but I think their combination of new veteran talent and young prospects, and I think they could do a lot. And I think if you look at the roster and you look at what these guys have done individually on their separate teams, I think that there's no reason to assume they won't all work together as one unit. AD next to Sar should, in theory, look good. Sounds good. AD gets to play as 4. Sarman gets to get stuck at the 5 and, you know, do Sar things, block shots. And so I think they're going to be a solid team. I think they can make up for Trae Young's defensive gaps. And I'm really interested in seeing what the Wizards do next year. Now, taking one more trip out west, there are 2 teams that I'm very interested in that had, I guess, relatively active off seasons. And those 2 teams are the Memphis Grizzlies and the Portland Trail Blazers. So the Portland Trail Blazers, last year I was very high on them. I can't say I was expecting more from them because the West is the West and it's pretty loaded. A lot of talent out there. But I think this season I'm almost less confident in what they could do or what they could become. Their guard room is loaded with small arms fire. I don't know the best way to put that. I mean, they have a lot of guys that are like, yeah, Drew Holiday, he's a stud. He's also like pushing 40. John Morant, stud. Might as well be pushing 40. Shaedon Sharpe, good athlete. Not really the complete player you're looking for. Scoot Henderson, again, good athlete, has his moments, but not really what we thought he could be. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. There's a lot of guards that are in Portland right now. But Donovan Clingan is the truth. He is very good at basketball, and I think realistically is the piece that Portland should be building around. Not to forget too, they also have 37-year-old Dame. He's back. So just add another point guard to the list of like, is he washed? Is he great? We don't know. Between him, John, Drew, so anyway, Portland Trail Blazers is going to be a lot of fun. I think team to watch out for. Toumani Camara is a stud. They got a lot to like, but they kind of seem a little bit less organized. So I'm almost betting that the strategy behind the front office there is, let's get a bunch of these guys in. Let's see who does well. Let's see who performs. Let's see what lineups stick, what the advanced numbers say, and you know it's a metrics-driven game in 2026. So we'll see what the numbers look like, and I think the year after this, Portland Trail Blazers will be taking a leap. This year, I wouldn't be surprised if we find them in the play-in again. And the other team is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies, I think they're going to be a lot of fun. I know it's not really a controversial opinion, but there's no reason that team shouldn't be like one of the 10 best watches in basketball. I think. Am I reaching? Am I geeked with this maybe a little bit? But I mean, you got, you know, Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. up top. You got some fun rookie stuff sophomore rookie stuff with Cedric Coward and Cam Boozer and Zach Edey, man. Zach Edey, gotta love him. I mean, and again, like I said, with most of these teams, Memphis kind of looks like they have a fun bench. I don't know. I think that'll be a fun team. I don't know if the chemistry is going to be exactly where it needs to be, like right off rip, but again, I think this could be a fun team. I hope they kind of bring back that Memphis culture from the Dylan Brooks and Ja and Bane and Jaren. Like that team was vibes. Whether you loved them or hated them, they were just like a fun team to watch. They were young, they were bouncy, they were athletic, they were talking their shit. They were a team that was a fun team. If you were somebody coming into basketball, you'd be like, I could root for these guys. This is a fun team. This is a likable team. They played highlight reel basketball with Ja dunking on everybody, and you had the big man shooting three. It was modern basketball. It was fun basketball. It was a good product. And now almost every piece from that original roster, I think, is out the door, unless Santi Aldama. No, but I think he got traded as well. Yeah, I mean, most of that whole team is just gone now. So, like I said, Cam Boozer's, he's Cam Boozer. He's going to be, a lot of people have him as the real number one coming out of this class. I don't know if I have him that high. I think his ceiling is probably, or not his ceiling, but I think his redraft 5 years from now will still be in that 2 to 4 range, depending on how Darren Peterson and Caleb Wilson pan out. But yeah, that's the Memphis Grizzlies, man. I mean, keep an eye on them. If you're new to ball, you're not really sure who to like, you want a small market team, and Yeah, Memphis is they're definitely your guys. So, 2 more teams we're talking about. Then we're done. Let you guys go. So, first team is Chicago Bulls. So, the Chicago Bulls have been in perpetuity. They've been floating. They have been limbo. Come up with whatever name you want. They've been too good to win any meaningful position in the lottery, and they've been too bad to really make it anywhere beyond a playing game. But they have their moments. But they're mostly outshined by the front office's inability to manage a team, right? So, I mean, they have Kawhi Leonard on the team. Oh, wait, no, it's Patrick Williams. Right. One day he'll get there, I'm sure. But in the meantime, they're paying him a ton of money to be statistically one of the worst players in the NBA. They bring in Nick Claxton as, I believe it was part of the LaMelo trade. We'll come back to that because Brooklyn is the second team that I wanted to talk about here. But the Chicago Bulls kind of looks like they lucked out with Caleb Wilson. So in Summer League, in case you didn't watch, Caleb Wilson was a bucket. He was killing everybody. A big concern that a lot of scouts had about Caleb Wilson coming out of college was, how much of a floor spacer is he? Can he really shoot? And so the first game of Summer League, he made like 7 threes, and they weren't like catch and shoots. They were like step back, slide around, shuffle, bend over, twist you, and just like good looking pro level. I'm comfortable doing this threes, right? So Caleb Wilson looks, as far as Summer League goes, he looks like one of the best. If all you had to work with was Summer League, you would probably say Caleb Wilson is your number 1 guy. He is tall, he's long, he can shoot, he could finish, he'll put on a little bit more weight, but it's not like he's going to be getting bullied anywhere around in the foreseeable future. So good on the Bulls for the Caleb Wilson pick. I mean, he was kind of the no-brainer at 4, so you kind of had to luck into that one. But definitely, hopefully some sunny skies ahead for the Chicago Bulls. And lastly, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets. Jared Allen, Nets legend. Brooklyn Nets are an interesting one. They've been pretty miserable since the superstar trio left, since the super team crumbled. They've been a pretty sorry team, which is expected. I'm not saying that any of these, there's a reason we're not talking about the Pelicans or, we're not talking about the Kings. There's a lot of sorry teams in the league. But the Nets made a move that obtained them Julius Randle for more or less nothing. Right, Clax wasn't really fitting the timeline. He wasn't exactly helping the development of anybody else that was there. So in the deal that sent LaMelo to the Timberwolves from the Hornets, the salary coming out of the Timberwolves was Julius Randle, and he is slotted into the Brooklyn Nets starting 4. And with Claxton making his way out to Chicago. I'm not sure if those trades were overlapped, or because it's kind of like the way that the news cycle broke this year. Trades were kind of coming out and then be like, oh, there's a 3rd team, there's a 4th team, there's a 5th team. So, moral of the story: Claxton's out, Randall's in. So their starting lineup is most likely looking like the number 6 overall pick in the draft, Mikal Brown Jr., and then they probably have Igor at the 2. Michael Porter Jr. to be running the 3, Randall at the 4, and then at their 5, I mean, I've seen a couple of names floated, but it's going to be Daron Sharp, I would bet. And I think it's a pretty fun team. Michael or Mikal Brown Jr., not sure which one it is, Michael, Mikal, it's like Mikel. He looked really good in Summer League. I think he is going to fit pretty nicely next to Igor Demon. And then, we know what Michael Porter Jr. is going to do. He's going to give them their 25 points and not much else. And Randall is objectively one of the best floor raisers in the NBA. So if you're a team who is looking to play some sort of competent hoops and you're not necessarily expecting to make it all the way to a 2nd round or 1st round even, but you want to put something a little bit more professional together than what the Nets have done in the last 2 years, Randall's your guy. He alone will give you, at minimum, 20-plus wins on top of whatever you had last year. He's going to fill up the stat sheet. He's going to give you, 23 and 7 and 5, or depending on what kind of role they slot him into. He's going to produce. It's going to turn into some wins. It's not going to go anywhere in the playoffs, but they're not anticipating on making the playoffs. So Julius Randle coming to the Nets, raises the floor, ceiling stays about the same, and that ceiling is still pretty damn low, but it's at least going to be a more competent game of basketball being played than what we've seen in the last 2-3 years from the Brooklyn Nets. That's about it, guys. That's all we got for right now. There'll be some more stuff coming out, hopefully. I'm not telling any lies here. There'll be some more content coming out in the coming months as we get closer to the season tipping off. I'd like to get at least 1 or 2 more videos out before opening night to go over maybe just the starting fives from all the teams once the offseason is all complete and done. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. You guys got any questions? You're wondering about how some players are going to turn out? I'd be more than happy to give you some opinions on who I think is going to be performing well, who I think is going to fall off, who I think got overpaid, underpaid, and everything in between. If I left a team out that you wanted me to talk about, drop it down below and I will be more than happy to go over them in another video. One of these 2 that I got coming up until the season tips off. So yeah, I mean, it's ChribKnowsBall. It's been an honor. Happy to be back. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, peace out.